Welcome back. Our next guest is the national spokesman for Jehovah's Witnesses, and he joins us to speak about the 20th anniversary of the Watchtower versus Stratton and highlights its significance for protecting First Amendment rights. And how has it, no, one more time. And how that has impacted Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, please. Here we go. One more time. I like that opening though. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. I'm the Doc Bob Lee, and our next guest is the national spokesman for Jehovah's Witnesses, and he joins us to speak about the 20th anniversary of the Watchtower versus Stratton and highlights its significance for protecting First Amendment rights and how that has impacted Jehovah's Witnesses. So please welcome to the show, Robert J. Henriks III. And it's always a pleasure to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you, Dr. Bob. It's good to be back. It's really a pleasure to be able to speak on this very historic moment, because this decision back 20 years ago really had a profound effect on Jehovah's Witnesses and our evangelizing work, our preaching work. Many people know us going door to door. But it also had, over the last 2 decades, a profound effect on the First Amendment freedoms of many people, all of those who wanted to carry a message door to door, whether that was religious like us, biblical, or whether that was environmental or even political.
And we're talking about the Stratton case, is that right?
That's right, yeah. So back on February 26, 2002, the Stratton case came before the U.S. Supreme Court. We argued that a law that had been actually affirmed on 2 levels of federal courts, the district court level and the Sixth Circuit of Court of Appeals, it had been affirmed. And what it required everyone to do who wanted to go door to door was to get a permit from the mayor. Now, that seems innocuous when you think about it, but really, do you have to ask the government do you need their permission to talk to your neighbor? And so that was really a key question before the court. It wasn't just about Jehovah's Witnesses, but it was about really free speech in general.
Well, how impactful has this been for the First Amendment rights for Jehovah's Witnesses to go door to door with their door to door activities over the past 50 years?
Yeah, so as we look back to Jehovah's Witnesses and our 50 Supreme Court victories since the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and then the Stratton case, we would be silenced had it not been for these victories. Jehovah's Witnesses, we have an individual responsibility to obey Jesus' command to go preach. Jesus said, in fact, the last thing he said to his disciples and apostles before he went up, he said, "You will be witnesses of me, both in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the most distant parts of the earth." We are obeying that command like never before in history, with a website that is in 1,050 languages, with our global preaching work in 239 lands. But in many totalitarian countries like Russia, we are not allowed to do that. And so we get arrested because Jehovah's Witnesses, as an individual, we're not going to stop obeying God because the government tells us not to do something. We need to find a way to share a loving message with our neighbor. And in the case of Stratton, back in the late 1990s, Stratton wanted to regulate our ability to go from door to door. And that we felt from the beginning was unconstitutional. And on June 17, 2002, the United States Supreme Court, in a historic 8-1 decision, agreed that indeed that law was unconstitutional.
But Jehovah's Witnesses are not preaching door to door at the moment, right? Are we?
Yeah, it's ironic, Dr. Bob, that right now we have chosen, because of the pandemic, not to go to our neighbors, go door to door. I guess it was the 3rd week. It was really March the 20th or so of 2020 that we instructed all to refrain from going door to door or public ministry, or even visiting those who wanted us to come back and make what we call a return visit on them. And so it is ironic that we're celebrating and commemorating this 20th anniversary where we established that right at a time when we're not actually practicing that right. But as of today, we have opened up our public ministry again, but not door knocking. So we will be, no doubt, back on the streets in New York City, back on the streets in the Bronx, where we have public witnessing carts, and we've had them for many years. We'll be back also making personal Bible studies, free home Bible studies with our neighbors, and making return visits on those who welcome us or want us to come, maybe giving a phone call to them and asking them, can we drop by? So that is happening again. But there is a kind of an irony here. But here's the key. As we commemorate 20 years, it's a reminder that we can lose our rights very quickly, and that municipalities really have to take note that even though we haven't been going door to door for the last 2 years, that right to do that, that right to practice our preaching work, to practice door-to-door knocking, which is well established in the scriptures in Acts 20:20, that right is well ensconced in the First Amendment of the Constitution, and municipalities really have to be very careful about trying to regulate that.
Yeah. Are you holding a special event, or did you have one yet, or if it's coming up?
Yeah. It's an exciting event because what we're doing is, especially at this time when we're not door knocking, we want to make sure that everybody knows that this has been a well-established right. So we are holding a live stream event on June 17th, 2022, where we're bringing the two lawyers who argued the case before the Supreme Court, as well as we're featuring the Religious Freedom Clinic at Harvard Law School, and they'll be involved in this program. And the program basically will look back on the history of this case, how it started, what the result has been, and where we stand right now from the issue of First Amendment jurisprudence, and how it is Jehovah's Witnesses have contributed to that in an unprecedented way over the last 60 or 70 years. We're holding that in our headquarters in Wallkill, and it'll be streaming on YouTube. It's primarily for attorneys, judges, municipal officials. We have law professors who are going to be tuning in. And it's also a continuing legal education course right now in 9 states. And so it's going to be a great event, very instructive, and I think something that will help everybody to remember this case in a way that they need to in order to, as we move forward with going back to door-to-door ministry sometime in the future.
Yeah, and this is going to be June the 17th.
That's right. June the 17th, 2022 is 20 years to the day when Justice John Paul Stevens, the Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, announced the decision of the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Now, is this all on the website?
Yeah. So we are for those who are attorneys, we're telling them to go to legallearningstudio.com, legallearningstudio.com, Legal Learning Studio YouTube channel. And they'll find how to sign up, how to register for this continuing legal education event.
Well, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you, Dr. Bob. It's been great to be here.
You got it. All right. We're going to take a quick break right here, but we'll come back and we'll continue to give you some of the best right here on Bronx Net's Open